Welcome along to the finale then of the 60 plus racing adventures here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Paul Smith. Thank you very much for joining us here for this finale of this championship, and what a run it has been indeed. It is Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit we all love here today, and we'll just be able to quickly run you through your starting grid. Stefan Rosgen on pole position. He is ahead of Stephen Cartner by 7/10 of a second. Bill Lawrence in third, with Paul Stump in fourth place. John Morgan and Matt Robertson fifth and sixth, with John Hunsby seventh. Gianni Respaldo eighth place. Leroy Coppage and Bruce Grenheim round out your top 10 on the grid. Bob Kern, Kenneth Baldwin, Remigio De Pasqua, Franz Brink, Bruce Poole and Richard Coulomb 16th, with Kenneth Duma, Jared Florison, William Lee and David Riley rounding up the 20. And the rest of the field: Wally Moresby, Ralph Kimmerer, Scott Geller, should I say, and Manny Grinnan, with Richard Varley at the back of the grid. So there's your grid. Do apologise for the little bit of the tardiness here with this broadcast, with a few technical issues here today, so we'll just have to change things on the fly and see how we get on. But here we are, ready for the race start here. Of course, 2 races this evening, as always, and the best result from each of those races will be taken from this finale. So we're all set for this one, just waiting for the drivers to come round, and it's going to be on the old endurance pit for the race start, because the pace car is still out there. And we're all set, good to go for this one. Tricky track to get right. When you do get it right, it really does sort of come out for you. But pace car pulling off to the side of the road then. And we're all good for the start of this one. The green flag is in the air. Away we go then for the start of this race. Down to Eau Rouge for the first time, and up into Radion. Will everybody be able to get through? That's the question we have to ask ourselves as they go up the Kemmel Straight. The drivers pushing hard, ducking and diving, trying to make their way past. No changes in position at the moment at the front. At the back though, a few little dramas. There's a few drivers involved in this one. I'll try and get a replay up on screen for you. And Jared Florison, Franz Brink involved in this as they go up the hill. And this is at Lecombe. Onto the brakes, you see cars diving out in front, and it just all gets tangled up there, and well, not a lot of room for people to run around. That's ended in heartbreak for those guys there further down. But at the front of your field, it is still Stefan Rosgen, who has pulled out a 7/10 of a gap between him and second place David Cartner. Bill Lawrence in third, with Paul Stump in the top 4. Further down your order, Bruce Grenheim has got a fewer cars there involved. Remigio De Pasqua is there, and he is running down in 11th place at the moment, and will hopefully shortly be joined by David Haynes very shortly on broadcast, because as I say, a few technical problems that we've had here. But up at the front of the field, it is Gianni Respaldo in 7th place, trying to battle with John Morgan, but across the line, Stefan Rosgen, Stephen Cartner, Bill Lawrence is your top 3. Hello there, David.
Hello there, Paul. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So, interesting first lap to them. A big instant further down your order. taking out Kevin Baldwin, Franz Brink and Jared Florison. But everybody else still running this race. 22 seconds covering the 22 cars that are remaining on track here, David. And these drivers, it's a tough series to try and race in. And Matt Robertson is trying to make some moves up the Kemmel Straight at the moment. And he's in the slipstream. And this is a key thing with this Star Mazda, of course. The slipstream will have such an effect here.
Of course, all manner of wings on these cars, front and rear, and the horsepower from that rotary Mazda engine, well, it's good, it's pretty peppy, it's only a couple hundred horsepower, and of course at the high speeds of that, the slipstream will play a significant advantage, several tenths of a second gained every lap.
And so as they're coming down the hill through Jackie X corner, able to spread out behind them though, Leroy Coppage feeling the need to attack John Unsby in front as they're going through the turn here. You see John making his Leroy Coppage and John Unsby into the Fania chicane. Again, do apologise for the lack of a ticker at the top of your timings, at the top of the screen. I'm just in the middle of trying to fix all of that, so apologies for that. But David, these drivers, they've got to push hard and they've got to try and make moves early on in this race. It's a Ralph Camera, big incident for him and Richard Varley.
You're going to want to press on, but that's not what you're going to want to do. So here's the replay of where that has occurred. Coming down through Pouon here, has the rear just gotten a bit wobbly by itself there? Trying to see what's happened. Maybe it's later on.
Yeah, it's in the Fania chicane, this is. And so he's gone wide into Fania, lost the control of the car, and around comes the other one. No, didn't know which way to go, and unfortunately ended up T-boning the car.
Not a good start to race one, but thankfully that's why they have this two-race format. The night is not over for these drivers. So looking towards the lead right now, up through these fantastically memorable sequences of corners, through Eau Rouge, through Radion, and the slipstream playing a huge role here. They come down the Kemmel Straight and to the inside. Decisive move. Comes Stephen Karkner, try and take the lead away from Stefan Rostjan. Too wide into the braking zone. No, Rostjan backs out, but now Stephen Karkner takes the lead of the race. Rostjan in second, and you can see Bill Lawrence in third there. He's now actually taking a very serious look at Stephen Rostjan. Coming down the hill now. Long right-hander. This is where the downforce plays a role, and someone's parked out there. Jared Florison parked in the sand trap, just enjoying the beautiful sunny day here in the forests, watching the racing.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to say the graphics, by the way, are about as good as I can get at the moment. But we're just trying to get something up on screen. But anyway, yeah, it's really. Really interesting how they've worked here. Lap traffic ahead, of course, but Kartner, he was about 7 tenths behind at one point at the end of the first lap, but he's been able to reel in and then overtake Stefan Rosjan here.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, there's a couple straights along here where the slipstream will really mean that anyone half a second back has an opportunity to pass you. The downforce on these cars will mean that they'll be near enough to flat, full throttle through up here. And that means a great overtaking opportunity. I nearly put two words together into one there. Towards the bus stop chicane. Means you won't have to lift out of the throttle too much to follow. You can follow closely, and Rostjan can't get close enough to make a move into the bus stop this time. Lap 3 of 7 going into lap 4, as you can helpfully see from the fact that we've now got the lap count in the top left.
Yeah, that does always help us here. And, well, these drivers, it's going to be that question of just biding your time here, because you don't want to be out the front of that pack for too long here in this one, because really, these drivers, they'll just sit in this slipstream, wait for the opportunity to come along, and then take the positions here. And you don't want to make that move too early, because then it will just be a slipstream fest, as we've just seen right here.
Karkner defends. Rostjan's going to try and go around the outside towards Malmedy this time, and behind them they're Bill Lawrence and Paul Stump nearly side by side as well. Karkner will hold on to the lead this time, but he goes for a spin. Is he going to hit the wall? He does. 2 wheels into the wall. Just couldn't hold it there around the outside.
And we've lost Karkner in more ways than one. There we go. Up on camera. And yeah, so what happens here? He just gets on the brakes, but carries a little bit too much speed there, and into the wall. He's going to try carrying on here. He had to wait for a gap in the traffic, but he is back out and running, but he's got damage to that car. He's going to struggle to keep that one, and he's got Manning Grinnen right behind him now with that queue of traffic just going past.
Yeah, hopefully gets out of the way of those guys. You can see the damage everywhere on the left-hand side of the car, from the front to the rear wing, the side pods, probably the suspension as well. I imagine he's trying to bring that back to pits because it does not look a happy car, crabbing around, very unstable. That's suspension damage, wheel damage for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Stump, 3rd place. Matt Robertson right behind him here in 4th. Let's look from the gearbox, and really, these two inside the slipstream, because in front, because Paul's got Bill Lawrence, also Stefan Rosgen between the two of them. As they go into the brakes, hitting the grass there with Stump into the chicane. Not the ideal line, it must be said, to take into that, but back out and able to stay on the track. But behind them, there's a sterling battle going on for 9th to 10th. Downwards, because Bob Kern's now getting involved in this one here.
Yeah, you can see some little trains starting to form, and this is the battle that has Remigio De Pasqua in the 15 leading, but then there's Bob Kern to the inside on Bruce Granheim and Kenneth Duma behind watching. We've got a 4-car battle for the lead, then 4 cars behind that, and then there's a 4-car battle going on here, going to be side by side through Eau Rouge Radion. The inside, I believe there is Bob Kern, and now it's the outside, still side by side. Very, very brave. That was lucky to not be an incident, I'm sure.
I think they're going to try and make this 3 wide here. Oh, the 07 of Kenneth Duma, just thinking against it. Years of experience, just thinking against it. On the brakes there, Kern through, Bruce Cranham having to get hung out to dry there a little bit, but able to hold the inside line for the exit of Malmedy. But now he's left the door open here for Duma down the inside into the right-hander.
Bit of battling here. Almost let Remigio De Pasqua get away from this pack. They're costing each other time, going 2 wide corner after corner here. Great battle between Duma and Granheim. It's costing them some time. The car you can see immediately behind of the 13 of Kenneth Baldwin is a lap down on these guys, and being caught by Jared Florison in the other red car, who's also a lap off the lead.
Yep, so those guys just settling themselves out now, trying to sort themselves out. Stephen Cartner, by the way, has made it back to the pits as he's back up and running. Matt Robertson, 3rd place. He was able to get ahead of Paul Stump. That was at the Kevin Straight. And he's now going to charge down and try and catch up to Bill Lawrence, his teammate here, as they come through the left-hander at Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane. Hard onto the brakes here. Of course, not using the Grand Prix pits here, we're using the endurance pits. Gianni Risvaldi is battling as well. John Unsby's involved there, Limerick Coppage. So a good battle going on just outside the podium positions as well.
Something for everyone. You've got to be careful with those curbs to the inside of the bus stop chicane, the anti-cut curbs. You can put some damage on your car hopping across them too aggressively. I think everyone's gotten away with it this time, but certainly it'll upset a low to the ground car with some underbody aerodynamics like this.
Absolutely. Up at the front though, side by side, Stefan Rosgen, Bill Lawrence. Lawrence getting help from his teammate Robertson, who's following him through. So Rosgen dropping down to 3rd place. Not the end of the world at this stage of the race. Lap 6 of the race here. So Stefan don't be too worried about that really, as long as he stays in the slipstream of the 2 cars in front. But the fact that they're now teammates together, they can work with each other and help try and pull away from Stefan.
definitely could try that. And this 4-car breakaway is pulling further away from 5th place. Gap backwards that was 3 or 4 seconds is now out at about 6 seconds. That second train that's being led by Gianni Rispaldo that has John Morgan, John Unsby and Leroy Coppage.
As they carry on up the hill to the final chicane. Good news is that whilst all these problems have been happening, we have got live timing up and running, RaceSpot.tv/timing, to keep up to date with everything going on in this race. John Morgan pretty close in 6th place. We'll keep an eye on that lead battle and keep an eye on this one for 5th place as well, because Morgan, look at the run that he gets through Stavelo there. He's running a little bit wide, but he can try and carry the speed through Paul Freyer. But here comes John Unsby now. This is all getting a bit tight there. Almost contact between the two of them as they're heading to Blanchimont. Not ideal, but Morgan will be able to make that move and make it stick.
You can't bump draft in a car like this. He's gone around the outside trying to make it stick though. Too wide into the braking zone. Sweeping through goes John Morgan there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Morgan up into 5th place, but Rispaldo not giving up on this one, trying to make the moves, but he might as well just wait, be patient for the run up the Camel Straight. Because that's exactly what he's doing. Of course, we've started lap 7 of this race here as we go down the hill across the line. Rispaldo doesn't want to be too close to the car in front, but he wants to be right in that prime position. Here comes John Unsby, the man who's got a slingshot on the wall, trying to make his way through, and he's just not got the room, so he's going to try and make it down the middle, 3 wide in towards Le Combe. And well, we've got enough of one because the 16 car, Leroy Coppage, just can't get through on the brakes. Rispaldo decides to get out of that one. Morgan stays ahead, but Unsby, he's sticking there with it.
Coppage comes through on Rispaldo there. Morgan holds on to the lead of this little train, but suddenly John Unsby is looking rather racy in this pack. Looked gaining 2 positions down the Camel Straight, only got 1. Looking good, looking to size up John Morgan for 5th place.
So we're going along, and Morgan out front now, able to try and pull away from John Unsby because it's so difficult. It really is difficult in this track to try and break the slipstream. The only way you can do that is if another car behind has damage. And, well, Unsby's just dropping back a little bit, but he's not out the slipstream yet. We'll draw his attention back to the front because Matt Robertson and Bill Lawrence, they're within 3/10 of each other, and Stefan Rosegen is there as well. And just hanging around behind them is Paul Stump as the 2 teammates going side by side, and Rosegen trying to take advantage of that and break up the teammates. I think that's important for Stefan to try and keep those 2 apart.
Certainly done very well there. Drive off the bus stop looks good for him. It also looks good for Paul Stump in that it's always a toothpaste coloured car looking for somewhere to go towards turn 1. Will stay in line. I think really your best bet if you don't want to lose too much time is not to do anything too crazy until you get towards the end of the Camel Straight, and there you can make a move and hold on to it without immediately being slipstream passed back. Rosegen looks like he's trying to break the draft to Bill Lawrence though down the classic pit straight there.
Yeah, it does certainly look that way. And well, Rosegen now going alongside. He'll go back to the front here, and he is there back into the lead. And well, these drivers are just swapping between themselves. Lap 8 at the moment, and to be honest, these guys they won't be panicking too much. It's just being in and around that position at the front at the start of the last lap is where you want to be. You want to be either 2nd or 3rd out that group when you're starting that last lap.
Yeah, especially if the racing stays as it is right now, where a pass down the Camel Straight is always a possibility so long as you get a good run up the hill and can put your nose directly into the slipstream of the car in front. spaced out a little bit further here now. Roasgen looks like almost to make a breakaway. He's pulled just over 1 second, but you really wonder if that gap can remain once they get towards the exit of Stavelot campus and towards Blanchimont.
As we run through here, and these drivers, they're all back now. Richard Coulomb is in the pit road, so issues for Richard as he's making a pit stop here. Roasgen, 1.1 seconds, all of a sudden has been able to pull away here and do a job. Stump, he's thinking about it, but staying behind for the time being. And these drivers, they're pushing hard, but tell you what, there's not a lot they can really do about making moves for the time being. And they're certainly just biding their time, but the battle behind John Morgan, John Unsby, Leroy Coppage and Gianni Raspaldo, this one's still ongoing. Raspaldo is the one who looks to get the better run at the bus stop chicane.
Yes, and in front the yellow car, John Unsby nearly trying to make a breakaway, but around the outside of La Source, 2-for-1 deal, using all of the track and then some for Gianni Raspaldo.
Yeah, that's interesting lines that we saw there. John Morgan onto pit road. So he's making a pit stop now. Damage to the front of Coppage's car. What I can see there, front wing is damaged, so he'll be compromised. Top speed as they go up the Kemmel Straight. You don't realise it, but it's quite a steep hill. Is this up the Kemmel Straight? And Raspaldo, the Team Italian Turtles, down the outside. Can he make it stick? The answer is no. And here comes Bob Kern now coming into this battle. He's trying to get involved here as they go through Malmedy once again.
Timing for the pit stops is going to be a little bit interesting. Bit wide on the entry there as Gianni Raspaldo into Rivage, but manages to convert it to some pace on the exit. So we are now at that halfway point, a little bit past it. A few drivers taking that pit service.
Now we've got an issue. Managrinnen has had an issue here. This is down at Rivage. We'll have a look on board with him. Team Old Speed on the brakes, on the curb and the grass. Oh, and it just spits him out there. But really, not the ideal line to be right out on the grass on the inside there.
Yeah, a little bit greedy with the curbing. I would think your faster line would be just a little bit wider than that. Speaking of a fast line, here comes Bill Lawrence on Mark Robertson, or is this the deeper pack? This is
Kern and Raspaldo.
Kern and Raspaldo, yeah. So Kern to the inside of Blanchimont. Position done, providing he can break deep enough into the bus stop.
Ahead of us, and it's Richard Varley. He's had an issue. He was a lap down. I need to show this just because he's a man who was trying to recover. And he comes through the bus stop chicane. And what happens here? Gets on the AstroTurf. Oh, and that sends it right into that concrete wall. No chance of saving that one. That's him done. John Unsby as well has had an issue on this lap as well. And he's just flat out no longer in the race, it appears. We'll have to keep an eye on that one.
I see him just about disappearing off my timing screen as well, now reappearing. I'm not sure what's going on for the number 61
issues,
car.
I think, yeah.
John Unsby, yes indeed.
As your leaders now, they've spread out that little bit here at the front. Matt Robertson keeping within half a second of your leader. Stefan Roasgen will bring up the standings here as they are at the moment. And it is Roasgen in the lead, Robertson second with Lawrence third. Paul Stump is in fourth place, and there's a big gap back to John Unsby. Leroy Coppage, Bob Kern and Remigio De Pasqua rounding out your top 8 there. Stephen Carter is one of the big news that's retired from this race. Of course, we saw that incident that he had at the Lacombe chicane complex. That's where it was. I knew it was somewhere on this track, and that's where it was. So these drivers going down the back straight, heading towards Blanchimont once again. And Grosjean just trying to gap out Matt Robertson, but whatever he does, he just can't seem to pull away.
Yeah, Grosjean's looked really quick all the way from Rivage to Fania, but this section here, he just cannot get far enough ahead of Mark Robertson that Robertson doesn't pull back another nearly half a second on him just in that section of the lap. But here, watching from Robertson, you can see the line that Grosjean takes, trying to break the draft in the slipstream, just does not work. Lovely rotary backfires, great noise that they make too.
Yeah, absolutely. As they go down the hill, they're going to cross the line here, and it's going to be the start of the lap 11 of this race. Look at the speed that they're able to carry through that, pretty much flat out. And look at the slipstream and the draft effect there. Right out to the left-hand side there for Robertson, and Grosjean, well, he's lost one position. Won't lose a second position though, because Lawrence just wasn't close enough to get there. So back into the lead for Matt Robertson. Now, it's I will point this out. We didn't have time to at the start of the broadcast because we were fixing those technical problems. But that's your championship standings as they are coming into here. And Grosjean leading this one 352 to 289 ahead of Bill Lawrence. So Lawrence is in there. And Jos van der Ven not here for this race. He's in third place. John Morgan fourth. Matt Robertson fifth place in the championship. So having a good run in this race here. But you can see Grosjean just with that gap at the top there. He could afford to finish second in these races, really.
Yeah, I think so. With a points gap like that, any result, it's basically sealed for him. Certainly someone like Bill Lawrence, though, would like to get a result, not throw away any points, because he's a chance to gain another position in those standings there. So it's sort of that balance between, what do you have to gain, what do you have to lose, and for Grosjean, I don't think he's got much to lose, but he's also not got much to gain, so he's just out here racing for his best. Whereas someone like Bill Lawrence, I think, has a lot to lose, has to be cautious about the moves they make, needs to ensure a result.
Of course, as always, the Series 2 races to go at, so as we're on board with Bill Lawrence, look at the different lines at play right there. A little kick at the back end as well from Stefan Grosjean. Able to stay out in second place ahead of Bill Lawrence. He doesn't need to risk anything. He can take it easy, Grosjean, as they go back down the hill to start another lap here. It's thrown me off a little bit as this one running the endurance pits. I'm so used to the start of the lap and the end of the race being on the Grand Prix pits here. But Eau Rouge first corner. It's not a bad first corner to have, really, is it?
I think when you talk about the classic pits and the classic starting position, a lot of our drivers would remember Spa that way.
Here we go. Look at this, 3 wide. Headed into Le Combe. Up the Camel Straight, brake as hard as he dare. And Grosjean is the one that makes the most of that. Into the lead once again. Really, if I'm those two teammates behind, I would be thinking about positioning myself and just sit behind Grosjean. I think what isn't helping them here, David, is the fact that you've got Paul Stump right behind him. I think if they were those three at the front would have been able to drop Paul, I think these two teammates would have been happy to just sit behind now and wait for their opportunity and with the slipstream on the final lap.
Yeah, Paul Stump hasn't been particularly active the last couple of laps, doing a great job just to stay with this top 4 pack. Here you see this sort of middle sector of the lap where Stefan Grosjean is really quick, and he pulls out a couple of tenths over Bill Lawrence and Mark Robertson. Then the exit of, I'd say probably this corner, it's pretty well flat out from here all the way to the bus stop. You'll see the gap that's currently 7 tenths will probably come all the way down. Bill Lawrence will get a great advantage following along in the slipstream here.
Yeah, he will. As they're heading towards Blanchimont, one of the most impressive places to see not just Grand Prix cars, but also lower Formula cars as well go through that as well. As onto the brakes goes Bill. He doesn't want to make that move too early, and he realises that. And again, the different lines. Bill not really taking that much curb on the left-hand side. able to go across past the Grand Prix pits, heading into La Source. But what makes it interesting with this is we've got two great overtaking opportunities for the end of the race, into the bus stop chicane and into La Source, which is the final corner of the lap.
Yeah, if it gets close down to the wire on the final lap, you'll have to think about where you try and make your move. Robertson following his teammate Lawrence very closely up the hill. Are we going to have another 3 wide situation? Every time they come down the Kemmel Straight, it's excitement.
As here we go, slipstream coming into effect. Two teammates staying to the left-hand side. It's Lawrence now to the front. On the brakes, around the outside of the Lacombe. Rosejen, he sort of facilitated that. He realises that there's no point fighting tooth and nail with that one, and is able to stay ahead. Meanwhile, further back, Bob Kern, Leroy Coppage and Remigio De Pasqua all battling it out, and they're all getting a bit elbows out here as well for 6th place.
Yeah, Coppage jinking one way then the other, comes out on top. Here he is, despite carrying what's
Bob
a
Kern
little bit...
is off. That's the exit of Malma there.
Yeah, it's going too wide with, it must have been Remigio De Pasqua, I think. Let's see. Don't know if there was any contact there. Maybe he's just come in too tight. Oh, there was a little bit of a bump from behind that's helped him around there.
Well, Bob Kern dropping down to 10th place now in this race. We won't be too happy with that, but there is a second race, and there is the opportunity to gain those positions and get a good result in the second one. Of course, this championship really unique that the best result of the 2 races is what points you score here. So it's a good way of keeping the championship really close. And speaking of close, look at Rosejen and Bill Lawrence are battling into the bus stop chicane now.
Lawrence still leading, Rosejen in second. I think sets up a better exit. He'll get quite close. Robertson and some further car lengths back, and Paul Stump still content to ride along in 4th position. And let's see, Rosejen's trying to set up the best run he can down the hill, and Lawrence is weaving this way then the other, but it will all be in vain once they reach the Kemmel Straight, no doubt. Rosejen is exactly within striking distance.
Yeah, Rosejen then getting the slipstream, getting that advantage. And pull out to the left-hand side, and up the Kemmel Straight again. But look at the 3 behind. They're all swarming about the track, and now it's Matt Robertson's turn of the 2 teammates to get up into 2nd place. Runs a little bit wide through Lacombe, does Robertson. That's going to cost him a 10th or 2. And Rosejen pulling away now, half a second ahead of Matt Robertson is ahead through the right-hander at Rivage once again. That gap is just pulling out. Just from that one little mistake there, it's now 0.8 of a second between the 2 of them.
Yeah, and then also down here through Pouon, that's another section where Rosejen is just so quick. He'll probably pull this out to more than a second over Robertson, but it will not be enough. He's got more car lengths of lead than we've seen for a bit. He's good through Lafania here as well. That lead is nearly a second. And Stump goes for a spin.
Oh, that's heartbreaking for Paul, because he was having a really good race here. Does he carry just a little bit too much speed into the Fania chicane? We'll have a look here. Does he catch the grass on the brakes? Oh, the back end just slides away from him. Does well, keeps it on the black stuff, and is able to get going again. So Paul doesn't lose a position. The car behind him isn't for position, by the way. They're a lap down, so he doesn't need to worry about them. But he's in no man's land, though. But I think if you're Matt Robertson and Bill Lawrence, that is what you want to see, because Team Morgan, they can work together now to try and get one over Stefan Rosejen.
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, all season long, Rosejen's been one of the class of the field and a consistent and quick driver. So the fact that there's 2 of them to try and hoodwink him out of the win here at Spa, that might give them a stronger opportunity than if it was just one or the other, because I don't think as much that Robertson or Lawrence could do on their own to try and outfox Stefan Roastgen, who stays all the way to the left-hand side of the circuit there, but Robertson follows along in the slipstream, and from this angle you get a great view of the closing speeds. It's not going to be enough this time though. Roastgen will hold on to the lead. Robertson was not close enough. What gap can Roastgen try and pull out through this middle sector of the track this time?
This is one of my favourite views in all of our camera packs, if I'm honest, as they go through the right-hander once again. And Robertson has got to be careful. I think that all stems from the fact that he made the mistake going into Lecombe last time around, and that just pulled out that gap for Roastgen, and again Roastgen pulling out the gap once again. We'll look further back because there is battling still going on. It's Bob Kern and Gianni Raspaldo, and Bob Kern trying to make a recovery drive here, and he's made the moves so far here in this last couple of corners.
When we look at this, he's the number 6 car, and he tries to go around the outside of the 48 there, Gianni Raspaldo, and makes it work too. So decisive move, and just found the space for it. But look at this, almost a second lead that Roastgen has over Robertson. How far will it come down towards the braking zone at the bus stop? Is this Roastgen's best chance at a breakaway? I think it just might be. Lawrence almost looks like he wants to get by Robertson this time. Will not do it. Roastgen holds on to the lead, but from about Blanchimont to the braking zone at the bus stop there, Robertson would have closed nearly 4-5 tenths. The slipstream, once these cars get into 6th gear, is huge.
Yeah, as they go on to the brakes once again, La Source, they're going to be starting the penultimate lap here in this race, so these guys, they need to start sorting themselves out now behind. They need to get closer, and they need to start making moves. By the way, Manning Grinnan is in the pits. He's had an incident in his day. Is pretty much done. We've got the battling further down as well that's been going on, but we'll keep an eye on this one. I don't think you make the move here. I think you just lift off the gas, sit in the slipstream, but no, Matt Robertson, he wants to get to the head of the field, and does he want his teammates following through? No, he doesn't get to follow through. Robertson makes the mistake at Lecombe. He's got a slow down penalty surely there with that one. Roastgen has to get out of it. We'll see how this one ends up before we look back at the replay there. But Roastgen down the inside, and I would just say, if you're Bill Lawrence, you want to get by your teammate now, but he's not for the time being.
Huge course cut from Robertson, so here comes the angle of that one. He's just ambitious on the brakes around the outside of Roastgen, and then he had a wiggle at the back and he steered into the slide so he didn't go around, but in doing that he's cut that second apex there, and that's cost him potentially the lead of the race, which is what he was fighting for. And then around the outside of Rivage was not going to happen for him. You saw on board the huge wiggle he had with the rear of the car. Drivers fighting some oversteer, especially at turn in.
Well, here we go then. We're going to be starting the final lap of the race coming up very shortly, and Robertson is still close enough to take advantage of that slipstream, but as they're heading through goes Blanchimont once again, and through they go. These drivers, they're trying to break the slipstream, they're trying everything they can to keep their positions or to gain positions. Onto the brakes once again, and now here we go through the bus stop chicane for the penultimate time. They're going to head into La Source, the final corner on the track, and as we look on board, still Robertson, he's about half a second behind here. He'll get a slipstream coming down the hill here into Eau Rouge as we start the final lap of the race, and Roastgen realises he's trying to do everything he can to break that slipstream here, David.
Yeah, ideally Robertson's going to want to close as close as possible towards the end of the Kemmel Straight, follow Roastgen through the downhill, through the middle sector of the lap, and then get a slipstream through Blanchimont. But we'll see if that happens. Roastgen all the way to the driver's right-hand side, defending the inside line. Robertson was not successful around the outside last time. Is he going to be more cautious this time? Is he going to give it up? He almost has to.
But I tell you what, if he hangs it out around the outside, you can make that move work, but he doesn't. He falls back into line, so he's running out of time here, running out of places to overtake, and he's going to look into Rivage. Rosjan running wide, giving space here. This is good, respectful driving between the two of them, but the gloves are off here, and Robertson wants that position. We're on the final lap of this first race of the evening. Of course, 2 races, as always, each evening through Pouan for the final time in this first race. Rosjan holding that inside line. He wants to try his best to just hang on to that one. Robertson a little bit deep into Fania. That's not ideal. He wants to be as close as possible heading into Stavolo and then curve Paul Freya. And it's not quite worked out for him here as they go through Paul Freya for the final time, and Rosjan has got a 0.6 of a second gap at the front. Well, he was able to qualify on pole position for this race. There's been swapping of positions going on throughout the race at the front here, and all 3 of them have led the race at some point. The 2 teammates battling it out into the bus stop chicane. Look at the run that Robertson had. Rosjan locks up. He's under pressure here. We've got one more opportunity now, and that's into La Source, the final corner of the track. What can they do here as they head into the corner, onto the brakes? Robertson not close enough to make a move here, so it's going to be Stefan Rosjan coming out the final corner. He can see the checkered flag in front of him. He weaves into light because he takes victory here at maximum points for him as he goes across the line. Race winner Stefan Rosjan. What a result for him, and well, he's been absolutely magnificent in this championship. We've got battling further down. This one isn't over yet. Gianni Raspaldo, Remiga De Pasqua, and also Bruce Grenheim and Bob Kern all battling out further down your field as they're coming down the hill. And it's going to be Raspaldo who is able to stay in 8th place. Going across the line there, and wow, close finishing further down the order, but it was kind of what we expected, David. A slipstream battle, and we certainly got that here today.
Yeah, certainly really kept that pack together right up until the checkered flag, and with that win, Stefan Rosjan surely seals up the championship for himself. So I guess congratulations go out to him for running a very, very good season in 60 plus racing adventures. Of course, race 2 is coming up, and gives an opportunity for redemption to the likes of Mark Robertson and Bill Lawrence, and even those like Bob Kern and Manning Grinnan, who showed pace but didn't get the result they maybe were hoping for in race 1. Their night is not over just yet.
Another name I would throw into that is Stephen Kartner. He qualified on the front row, and he ended up out the race after an incident damaging his car up at the Lacombe chicane. We're going to wait for the final couple of cars to come across the line. Wally Moulsby and Scott Gello, or Jello, however you, I would say Gello myself, but those 2 are the final 2 on the lead lap, and they're going to come across the line here. So that is all of your finishers, and here is your race results then. Stefan Rosjan, your race winner, just half a second ahead of Mark Robertson in 2nd place, with his Team Morgan teammate Bill Lawrence in 3rd. Paul Stump with a mistake towards the end of the race. He'll be kicking himself for that in a really good 4th place. John Unsby had a relatively busy race there. It's finishing in 5th, just ahead of Leroy Coppage by 1/10 of a second. Kenneth Dummer ahead of Gianni Raspaldo. Then you saw that battle pack as well. Remiga De Pasqua and Bob Kern round at the top 10. Bruce Grenheim and John Morgan in 12th, who had to take a pit stop for repairs. David Riley 13th, William Lee and Wally Moulsby there, and Scott Geller rounding out the lead lap runners. Richard Coulomb 1 lap down ahead of Ralph Camera. Jared Florison and Richard Varley. Kenneth Baldwin 2 laps down, Manning Grinnan 3 laps down in the end there, and drivers who did not finish as well, Bruce Paul, Stephen Cartner and Franz Brick. So those are the final results of that first race. Of course, we've got another race coming up, but before we do that, David, we've got some interviews to do, and why don't you take it away with race winner Stefan Rosgen.
Well, Stefan, congratulations on your win here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. The slipstream all race long looking very, very strong, very powerful. That's, of course, what you would have expected, but how did that affect the dynamic of the racing for you?
Well, yes, I knew that we will have massive slipstream. It's more than 1 second on a lap. And I did want to stay in front as long as possible without taking too much risk. And I was hoping for some back markers that they could give me the draft so that I could break the draft. But this did not happen.
With a win next to your name in race 1, can you back it up in race 2? Will it adjust your mindset, your strategy for the next race, or do exactly the same again now that you know it works?
Well, in such a draft race, I think you have as much plans as you want. Things come as they come, and I just go from the front if I can, and not nobody can drive away.
A circuit like this in the Pro Mazda, we saw quite a few people have some wiggles with the rear of the car, thinking about Fania and some other places. Are you fighting some oversteer, or the balance pretty good for you?
We have a fixed setup race here in this year. One we had for Spa that was quite safe, not a bit pushy, but okay. When I race for Mazda Championship, I go with less downforce, especially on these tracks like Spa or Monza, because I do not want to get eaten up on the straights, and then it's of course very tricky in the corners. But with this setup here, very safe.
Well, congratulations on this race win and what I think is the championship for you. Anyone you would like to thank, any shout-outs, anything while we have you?
Thank you, RaceSpot, for the nice shows, and thank all the organizers who do a fantastic job. Thank you very much, all these guys, and thank you to all drivers who participate.
Well, there we go, Paul. A couple more drivers for us to speak to as well, and I'll hand them over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the race winner to the man who finished in second place, Mark Robertson. Mark, we saw you and your teammate were there to work together with each other. Started in 6th place though, Mark, so able to get up to the front there. Just talk us through that, because it was an interesting race from yourself.
Yeah, it was really misfortune for others. It seemed like that I worked my way up there, and of course that powerful draft down that straightaway. So I found myself with the top front pack there, top 3 or 4 there. I think we kind of pulled away.
And heading in towards the end of the race there, you've been able to use the draft, and Stefan's been able to use the draft on you and your teammate as well. Just a little mistake there towards the final few laps at Le Combe. I mean, it must have been a little bit heart in mouth when you have the back end suddenly kick out on you there.
Yeah, the back end kicked out, and I caught it sort of, and then I ended up going cross country there, and luckily Stefan and Bill saw what was going on, and they backed off, and but it was a heart stopper there for a minute.
We have got one more race though to come, and you could potentially go one step higher up the podium. Do you think that's something that's possible with this draft and the pack racing here?
Well, anytime I can stay in the company of Bill and Stefan and Paul, the draft is in effect. On a pure technical track, those guys are fantastic, but the draft is a little bit of an equalizer, so I'm gonna go for it.
Absolutely, we'll love to hear that. Before we let you go, Mark, anyone you want to thank as part of your Team Morgan team?
Just a great team. Team Morgan's great. All the admins and everybody that has anything to do with putting this league together, as usual, fantastic job. Highlight of my week to be able to participate in these races, and thank you for RaceSpot for the great coverage y'all give us.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, and well done on the second place, and all the best for the next race.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
And David, why don't you take it away with third placeman Bill Lawrence?
Bill, a circuit like this is always a huge slipstream, and when you're third or fourth in the pack and you're coming down the straight and you think maybe you can jump 2 or 3 cars at once, so what goes through your mind with something like that when the closing speeds can be so huge?
I think it's just looking for an opportunity. If there's a gap there, then you're going to take it. But overriding all of that, I think patience is, for me, really important here. And just not taking a risk unless it's near the end of the race, it's going to cost you. So just being patient if there's 2 or 3, 4, looking for a gap.
Third place in...
And, there's risk and reward. I'll go for it for sure. But, I'll still try and be in this league. A really good bunch of senior drivers. We have to be over 60 here. And it's a truly international field. We have guys from all over Europe, North America, a big field all across North America. When we start up, we say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's around the world. So it's a great group of guys to race with, and it's just getting better. Really appreciate all the effort that the Joel and Mark and many other inputs here, Richard and John Morgan put into it.
Fantastic. Any thoughts about the balance of the car with this setup? Because we've seen a few people go for some spins. Is that just drivers being over eager, or is there anything about the rear tyres going away, or maybe some of the higher speed corners you need to be careful with your steering inputs?
No, I think this car is very well balanced for me anyway. It feels very, very solid, up there with the VRS sets. And Joel Martin is responsible for the setups in consultation with a few of our drivers, including Stefan. And it's really solid. But if you get on a curb or you're off throttle, you need a little bit of throttle control here, it'll come around quick. But as long as you have the throttle maintenance, and it's a good balanced car, that's for sure.
Awesome to hear that from you. So third place in race 1 for Bill Lawrence. Looking for matching or improving on that in race 2?
Yeah, I would like to. I've got a few competitors. I'm hoping for a podium finish at the end of the season here. So I'd really be happy if I could improve on third.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for dropping in to have a word with us. We've got race 2 coming up soon, and Paul will look forward to that one, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us there, Bill, for a quick word. Hopefully we'll be able to have a word with you afterwards. But we are just going to have to have a very, very, very quick word with John Unsby, because I want to just mention him, because you had such a close end to your race there, just 1.5 tenths between you and Leroy Coppage. You're involved in battles. Just quickly, how was that race for you? Okay, unfortunately, John not able to join us for that one then. So what we will do is we'll step aside for just a few moments whilst we get ready for the second race of the evening here. You are watching the 60 Plus Racing Adventures from Spa-Francorchamps, the season finale here. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss a thing.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
Well, it is the final race of the season here at Spa-Francorchamps, and what a venue to host a season finale. It is the 60 plus racing adventures here on RaceSpotTV. There's your track information: 4.3 miles, 6.9 kilometers long. Weather conditions partly cloudy, 20 degrees air temperature, that's 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 39 degrees track temperature, that's 103 Fahrenheit, so a bit of a warm track, not the hottest you could get, but certainly a warm track, and very little wind to contend with, so the aerodynamics shouldn't be affected that much for these drivers here today. But it's myself, Paul Smith, joined by David Haynes here, and well, that first race, it was certainly a slipstream fest. What can we look forward to in the second race?
Probably, in terms of the racing dynamic, very much the same, but hopefully a lot of the drivers will have learnt the limits of the setup around this circuit, and probably something about the pack racing that we expect to see. When's a good time to try and put the move, and when should you just wait, ride behind, knowing that the next straight will present an opportunity for you as well.
So we'll look on board then, because I'm going to say we will talk you through a lap of Spa-Francorchamps then, and why not do it with the man who finished high up in second place in that first race, and that is Mark Robertson. So we're going to be coming through towards the end of his warm-up lap. Qualifying here for you, 10 minutes, 2 laps to be able to set your lap times in, and these drivers have got to really set up their cars and set it up well for the start of the lap. The best thing you can do here is just take it easy into La Salle, so make sure you get the good run out the corner. So we're on board with Mark now through the right-hander. The Team Morgan driver as he comes down the hill now towards Eau Rouge for the first time in qualifying here. Out lap complete, the left of Eau Rouge, then the right left of Radion, a slight lift for him as he goes up the hill there, and then this long drag up towards Le Corne. It is uphill all the way, you do notice this if you do ever get the chance of visiting the circuit. I do suggest that you go there. Very, very late braking into Le Corne there. Right, left, get the car as far over to the left as you can for Malmedy, the right-hander here. Onto the power nice and early, down the hill now towards Ravage, the long sweeping right-hander. Easy to get it wrong through here, taking a late apex to get on the power early. And now Jackie X corner, used to be known as No Name Corner, and he'll have to abandon that lap because surely that will be an off-track penalty from Jackie X corner, but mistakes coming here. He's going to carry on though, poor. He's just going to get a bit more practice into these track conditions here, David, to see how the car feels as he heads into Fania once again through the right and left. But yeah, the car just catching him out through Jackie X corner.
Exactly, just 2 laps, just 2 flying laps for qualifying means that, well, he's thrown the first one away. The second one he's going to have to be even more careful to keep the car between the white lines. Partly cloudy conditions like you touched on, and near 40 degrees Celsius track temperatures. Could be a teeny bit slippery than earlier, and we could see cloud cover play a tiny bit of an effect. But very shortly we're going to see some of the first of the timed laps up on the board. Looking at Stephen Karkner now, of course, the timing will come up not here, but between La Source and Eau Rouge along the classic pit straight. Very interested to see who can set a good time on their first flying lap and then maybe improve from that. We know that Mark Robertson will not be having a valid time from the first lap.
We go to 17.1 for Stephen Karkner. Does it count though? So he must have had an off-track penalty on it. Paul Stump is currently your fastest time as they're going across the line. Drivers just setting lap times now. And oh, there's some big lap times coming in now, but Stump is still the one at the front of the field. And it'll be interesting to see Stefan Rosejen now, is he on his own lap here? Actually, his first flying lap. I can't see him, unfortunately. But this man, he is certainly going to be one that we'll look out for to see whether he gets pole position in this race here. But Stephen Karkner, the pressure's on the likes of him, of Robertson, and Coppage as well. pressure's on them to get a lap time in now that they've only got 1 lap left.
Yeah, exactly. Typically the way you'd try and approach a session like this where you've got 2 laps back to back is that your first one you'd consider a banker lap. Just keep it within the white lines, put something that will stand up on the timing board, and then your second lap push everything just a little bit harder. Well, you throw that out the window when you make a mistake on your first lap, and then the second lap you can't afford any mistake, but you've also got to push it. So what do you do when you've thrown away one of your 2 possible laps and you're staring at nothing for you on the timing screen?
Cartnap is heading towards Blanchimont, so he's heading towards the end of the lap. Leroy Coppage, by the way, second place, 61 thousandths of a second between him and Paul Stump. We'll be heading towards the end of the qualifying laps. Weather conditions do play a factor as well in terms of track temperature. The cooler the track, it is better for these drivers. So it's Cartman out, heading in towards La Source. He needs to get that lap time in. What will his lap time be? Pulls out of La Source once again. Down the hill. We saw 2:17.1 from him on this first lap, but that was an invalidated lap. 2:16.7, and that one does count. It's to the top of the order.
Yeah, fantastic on that lap from Karkner. More times coming in, some second laps from some other drivers, and you can see that in your timing column on the left. But that time of Karkner does stand out, half a second clear from everyone else. Kern moves up, so does Richard Coulomb potentially. A couple of drivers out there still to put a second lap in the books. Including them is this man, Manning Grinnan. No time on the board yet. Looking to put one on the board for Manning Grinnan, because of course if you find yourself starting deeper in the pack and there's a breakaway, with the slipstream as it is, you're not going to be able to catch a breakaway pack without being significantly faster than them. So qualifying will matter something here. Be difficult to come from the back of the pack to be in the top 3 today.
Well, it's also worth pointing out that Manning Grinnan will only get this lap in here now. This will be his lap opportunity. Also worth pointing out, Stefan Rosegen currently 11th on the grid. Make that 12th on the grid, because Gianni Respaldo does improve his lap time from his first lap to his second lap, so up to 11th for Gianni, and Rosegen down to 12th, a second and a half behind. So and he's abandoned his laps. He's going to be starting at best 12th place in this race. Do you get the feeling that he's going for a bit of fun again, like he's done in previous events that we've seen?
Well, if you've already locked up a round win and a championship win, you can probably do what you want, and it's not for us to criticise him.
Absolutely not. Yeah, why not enjoy yourselves, give yourself a bit of a challenge. Manning Grinnan, that this is his last opportunity. We've seen good performances from the Team Old Speed driver whenever we have seen this series on RaceSpotTV. As he goes down towards La Source once again. Onto the brakes. Time's still coming in. There's only 2 drivers who are running that haven't set a lap time. This man that we're looking at, and Mark Robertson, the man who finished second in that first race across the line, 2:18.1. That will put him above Stefan Rosegen if that counts, and it doesn't count. Crucially, that lap time was invalidated, so Manning Grinnan is going to be starting from the back of the field. Matt Robertson is going to run out of time here, so he won't get a lap time in here. Absolute disaster for those 2 drivers.
A lot of work ahead of them in this upcoming race. Yep, time expires on the qualifying session, and Mark Robertson did not make it to the line. So he's timed that run rather poorly in qualifying, but it means that our starting grid is locked in. And here's how they're going to start, with Stephen Karkner on pole, half a second proud of Leroy Coppage, then Paul Stump on the second row with John Morgan. Behind them is going to be John Unsby, starting from 5th. That's where he finished race 1, so he'll hope to improve from there and improve on his results. 6th is Greg Garris, 7th Bill Lawrence, 8th is going to be Bob Kern.
Major de Pasqua, 9th place, with Bruce Granheim in 10th place. Gianni Rospaldo we saw move up into 11th place ahead of Stefan Rosgen, Race 1 winner and champion of this season. Kenneth Dummer and Jared Florison, 13th, 14th, with Kenneth Baldwin and Richard Coulomb rounding out the top 16.
17th is going to be David Riley, 18th is Wally Molesby, 19th is William Lee, and 20th is Scott Gallo. 21st is Ralph Kemmerer, 22nd is Ronald McManus, and with no time and not from lack of trying, Manning Grinnan and Mark Robertson are going to start pretty well back of the grid. Didn't see any attempts at qualifying from France Brink or Richard Varley, but they might well take the start in 25th and 26th. Not a bad grid as they all line up behind that beautiful, beautiful Porsche safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pace, it says pace lap, it's about a pace quarter of a lap really here, as they head around towards the bus stop chicane. Of course, you will not see that pace car pull in to the Grand Prix pits. Carry on through the hairpin at the source, and we saw a really clean start, clean getaway, apart from an incident up at Le Combe on the first lap of the last race. Hopefully we'll be getting a nice clean race start here, but look at that car. It's great to see such a big grid here for this final round of the championship, and this championship just goes from strength to strength, David.
Yeah, fantastic, always entertaining racing, and everyone that we speak to involved in this series always says great community, great fun, good racing, and I think that's what everyone looks for regardless of age. It just helps that they find a little bit of community here in the 60 plus racing adventures, and it proves that sim racing isn't just for the kids, it's for everyone. Great form of racing, a great way to spend your time.
So here we are then. David Cartner, pole sitter, waiting for the opportunity, and he's going to go now. He's going early as soon as the pace car goes in. The green flag is in the air, and we're racing for the final round of this season of the 60 plus racing adventures through Eau Rouge and Radio. Hopefully everyone will make it through here on this first attempt. So far it looks so good here. A little bit of two wide action further back, but up at the front they're almost going three wide here. Oh, a little bit of bumping and barging. Cartner trying to hold on to that position, and Coppage trying to get a race win here early on.
Yeah, Coppage just could not squeeze out Cartner, who holds on to the lead. Paul Stump still holding on to third as well. A bit of side by side, the 73 car, who's that is Ralph Kemmerer going towards the inside. Any contact there? Couple cars around there, the exit of Malmedy.
Yeah, we'll try and get a look at this then. It's further down your order. They made it a couple more corners this time, and well, it is into, oh my goodness, that's a terrible camera shot. There we go. So William Lee is one of those drivers involved here, so they're going side by side. We saw them battling it out between the two of them, and into Malmedy they go. Oh, and he gets up on the curb. Oh dear, and he collects the other car there of camera, the 43 car involved in that one as well. And not the best day. And that was Matt Robertson. And that's one of the disadvantages of starting near the back here, David.
Yeah, exactly. Not a great start whatsoever to this race for Mark Robertson. And that's why you do want to set a qualifying time if you can, because it could elevate you forward of troubles like that he's unfortunately, through no real fault of his own, being collected in there. Stephen Carkner still leads. Leroy Coppage not close enough towards the bus stop, and sort of fluoro blue-green of Paul Stump doing a great job holding on to third. That would be an improvement over fourth in race one.
Yeah, it certainly would. As across the line they go then down into La Source. Across the line. You see how it catches me out once again. Out the final corner at La Source then, as they go down the hill here. And they will start another lap. We've got an incident further down as well, and it's a big one. Oh dear, this still happening. Stefan Rosgen is involved. Oh dear, it's still happening here. And Kenneth Dummer is one of those involved.
Big accident there on the outside of La Source. Here comes your replay from the helicopter angle. See what has gone on there. So what's effectively the last lap of the corner. Just maybe missed a braking spot there, potentially too optimistic towards the inside. Roastgen is no slouch, so if you're trying to outbrake him, trying to go to the inside there, make sure you know what you're doing, and then a very sloppy rejoin.
Yeah, he won't be proud of that one, Kenneth. He'll apologise and he'll realise what he's done there. But yeah, unfortunately, that incident getting involved there and causing that one. But anyway, down the hill they go towards Puot once again, and it is Stump is just falling back just a little bit here at the front, the sharp end of the field, and that's just costing him that little bit of time here, and costing him the opportunity of just getting in the slipstream. But he's closing back up to those in front, so it's important to keep that slipstream at the moment as Bruce Grenheim has pulled up to the side there. Now I'm wondering if he had damage perhaps. I'll have to wait and see here as they go up, but yeah, we'll see what happens here. No, just go straight on.
That's a bizarre one, difficult to read what's gone on there. No huge incident, but clearly out of the race. Battle for the lead though. Here comes Leroy Coppage to the inside of the bus stop. Can't break deep enough. Karkner has it covered off, but there's a spin. There's that contact.
Well, Karkner he's having issues.
Now Unsby goes for a spin, putting the power down on the exit of the bus stop.
Yeah, so
pressure getting to everyone.
Yeah, we'll have a look at this one again. First of all, it is Karkner. So he just clips that curb, loses control. I don't think there was any contact there. And then John Unsby on the exit gets on the AstroTurf, manages to keep out the wall. That's really well done there from John. Gets it changed back down to first gear and then pulls away again. So yeah, those drivers able to carry on. Look at the front, Paul Sharp. Look at this now. Paul Stump, sorry, pulling up to the front here. He's at the sharp end of the field is what I was thinking of saying, and he's certainly making the move behind them as well, side by side. That's Karkner and De Pasqua. That's battling for fourth place, not where Karkner thought he would be sitting at this point in time.
Yeah, just that mistake cost him a couple of positions, but now decisively cutting his way back through the field, and Paul Stump doing a great job leading. Leroy Coppage not letting him get away. But has Karkner lost too much time to bridge that gap to the top three? I think if he can pull out a good couple of corners, he'll be there. Stump still holding on to that lead though. And in third now is John Morgan, sitting, waiting patiently.
Certainly is. Into the corner they go there. And he's certainly trying to put the pressure on here. And Coppage we saw on the last lap with Karkner was really putting the pressure on going into the bus stop chicane, and is able to get that and be able to challenge. Here he is, Coppage on board with him on the roll bar, and Stump feeling the need to go defensive. He's backing off those Coppage. He doesn't want to try and make the move here. He wants to do it on the exit. You can hear him on the throttle now. And then backing off again. He's decided to just get out of it while he can. But those three at the front, if they start battling away, that brings Stephen Karkner and the rest of the pack of De Pasqua, Lawrence and Kern, brings them all back into this one.
Yeah, you can see there hasn't been a breakaway just yet. Karkner's still there, along with the other drivers. In fact, it's nearly 8 or so cars. John Unsby is probably the only driver not within that drafting gap of the lead potentially, or he's leading up the tail of the train there. At Manning Grinnan potentially making a move down the inside of the source as well, so no qualifying for Mark Robertson has hurt him, but I think Manning Grinnan still pressing on looking for a result, even though that driver wasn't able to put in a time on the board for qualifying.
We'll look further back here because they're going to go too wide in front as well. Coppage making the move down the inside, as well as De Pasqua making the move. So Coppage makes it to the front of the field, but I don't think Stump will be too worried. He was in that front group in the last race and was able to make the most of it. So I don't think he'll be too worried at the moment. He'll have that experience from race 1 and be able to use it to good practice here. in this race now. But John Morgan in 3rd place had a difficult time the last race, and he's right up there, involved in the battles for the race lead, which is good to see.
Yeah, Morgan started 4th, is now up into 3rd with the mistake of Stephen Carkner. Hasn't made any huge moves, he's just rode along from where he qualified and benefited from that little mistake of Stephen Carkner, but maybe with a couple laps to go we'll see an opportunity. Something's happened there through Puon, Paul.
Yeah, Richard Coulomb and the recovering John Unsby behind him. Go! The back end did not want to cooperate with Richard, and around he goes. Luckily that's not a gravel trap anymore, that's plenty of runoff, so he's able to just harmlessly get back up underway, dust himself off and go for the position. Bill Lawrence and Bob Kern swapping positions before Blanchimont. So those two want to keep themselves involved in this battle, and De Pasqua has dropped back off of those race leaders and he's battling away with Carkner. And I just feel that this battling is giving those three the opportunity to pull away.
Yeah, De Pasqua is fighting Carkner pretty hard, and they're now 1.5 seconds back off 3rd place John Morgan. That's not what Stephen Carkner needs. Remigio De Pasqua can probably fight that as he feels, but Bob Kern and Bill Lawrence joining the back of that train, so it's now separating out into some different packs. We have top 3 for the lead, then we have 4th through to 7th that De Pasqua is leading up. Then Greg Garris has his own little train from 8th place, and of course you can see some of those timings on the bottom of your screen there.
Don't forget RaceSpot.tv/timing to keep up to date with everything. Race lead changes once again. Paul Stump moving to the front of your field. Stephen Carkner dropping behind Bob Kern. To Carkner, he does appear to have a little bit of damage to the back of that car. Hopefully I can give you a good view of that. That rear wing certainly does have a little bit of a bend there. No, that isn't going to help us. Neither is that one. I'm not going to be able to have a proper look at this, but as Carkner bumps over the curbs, and we're on board for that one, and that's cost him a chunk of time at Jackie's corner.
I think that may also be what we saw potentially Mark Robertson doing during qualifying, looking like a tough one there where you've just come out of Rivage, you're carrying a little bit of speed, and when you go to turn into the corner there, it's not a huge braking zone, but you can't go full throttle flat chat clearly.
I know we've got a car off there, and that's one of the recovering cars, I believe on Franz Brink, who's decided to park it, so he's done. Now, interesting to see, Remigio De Pasqua has been able to gain and catch up to the back of John Morgan here, so those two he's able to catch it up, so that gives hope to Bob Kern and those behind, gives them hope of possibly being able to gain and catch up to that front pack, and certainly that front pack now is getting more a little bit.
That's true, you can see it from this angle that Stephen Carkner is almost, and Bob Kern almost just in touching distance here. Paul Stump, when he leads the train here, it's pushed Coppage and Morgan backwards just a little bit. Now 1st through to 7th are all within the fray of it. Bill Lawrence in 7th. I would say the last driver in contention right now. Great view on board. Look at the elevation change there, and very, very early in the run down the Camel Straight, Leroy Coppage goes into the lead of the race, and is going to provide an opportunity to those behind. Which way do they want to go? Will John Morgan also try and get past Paul Stump? In the background there, Remigio De Pasqua trying to go into 3rd. Not quite, can't do it this time. But De Pasqua's shown that no matter the situation, he's willing to get the elbows out.
Yeah, he certainly is. As Bob Kern behind is just sitting waiting patiently. And I think I've decided the best way of looking... Oh, actually, we'll look at Wally Moresby, who's had an incident. He's got a bent front wing. He's back up and running now. This is a bit Lecom. Oh, I think I know what's going to happen here, but let's see. On the brakes. Oh, he just clipped the car. Oh my goodness, almost got sent up and over there, did Wally. We'll get another look here.
Did get a little bit of hang time, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see how the car behind pulling out to try and make the move. It clips the curb and just catches that car up and almost got over then. But luckily for Wallach, able to carry on, and he's at least he's got somebody to race with in front of him, even though they are on a different lap.
Indeed, lucky not to be bigger damage there for Wally Molesby, but he continues, and up the front, Paul Stump's going to have to try and go around the outside of Leroy Coppage. Coppage now defending, and of course that's good news for everyone behind, but around the outside does sweep Paul Stump into the lead. It's great news for everyone behind who stays in touch with the lead. You haven't seen the top six this compressed since about the race start. We're nearing half distance.
Yeah, absolutely. That I will not tell you how hard that move is, and if a hard move is down until the source down the inside to Pasqua, it's going to be compromised on the exit of the corner. Now, luckily, he's going to slip through in front. Leroy Coppage looking as well. He's going to make the moves, but Paul Stump setting the stall out there of possible overtakes as we look back to the front of the field, and those two going side by side, and that's not the camera we wanted, that's the camera we wanted, and they're all, look at this, we've got 2 by 2, and his battles, and do you know what, John Morgan's not going to let Paul slip in here into second place, and around the outside then, John Morgan, and Paul Stump from a great move into the bus stop, she came around the outside, and now gets done around the outside until they come.
Yeah, indeed, first back into third, but that's the way of it, especially with how powerful that slipstream is. It seems like we're repeating ourselves, but every time it still amazes me that 6-7 tenths, even sometimes down the Kemmel Straight, is the advantage that can be gained. Coppage leads, Morgan moves himself up into second, Paul Stump in third, and Bob Kern in sixth is the back of this train. Stephen Carpenter trying to recover is fifth place in this train now, and Remigio De Pasqua has made some huge moves up into fourth place from ninth on the grid.
A little bit of a slide from Bob there. Oh, and a bigger slide then for Stephen Cartner. Around he goes. That's the damage coming into play then. And absolute nightmare for Stephen Cartner. We'll look at that again on a replay here. And, well, he comes around the Fanny chicane, and he's already losing the back end there. Does well not to get collected. Everybody does a good job. And he's back up and running. Doesn't come out with a single rejoin as well. It's very sensible and smart. So well done, Stephen, and well done the avoiding John Unsby.
Yeah, there's even a little bit of slide before he hit the inside curb there. So clearly, rear of the car, not liking it. Track temperature has been stable since the start of the race at about 39 degrees Celsius, so that's not playing any role in the little spin there for Stephen Carkner. Looking at the front though, Paul Stump in third. He's having a good look at John Morgan in second. Stump might like to move up another position, takes a late apex up the hill, gets the throttle open early, hopefully. But I reckon Morgan has a better shot at Coppage.
Well, look at the double draft that he's getting right here. Are we going to see Schumacher and Hakkinen repeated? Well, down the middle goes Stump there. Great driving. Is he going to get the inside line? Yes, he is. Coppage decides, I'm backing out of that one, boys. You two want it more desperate than me. So Stump back up to the front of this field. And I tell you what, that takes a lot of cooperation between the three drivers there.
Yeah, indeed, and from third into first goes Paul Stump from the meat in the sandwich to now leading the little train here, and indeed well done from the other drivers to not go in too deep there over their heads, not tangle with them.
Stephen Cartner, as I'll keep it on replay here. So Cartner has had an issue, and he is out the race. Oh dear, he's out. He's flat out. One thing I will do, look at Paul Stump. We're staying on replay. He clips that inside curb at Puar, almost collected by John Morgan. Around he goes. So from the lead of the race, we'll get another look at this one here, and we'll go on board but it just goes to show you don't really want to hit that curb on the inside of Puwa.
Take nothing for granted. So the car, that's just cutting way too much there. It made it very, very unstable, and lucky to keep it out of the walls. Plenty of space there, but from hero to zero, I think, for Paul Stump, who just pulled off a fantastic move for the lead. Now down into 8th place.
And we've got all change at the front because Morgan was at the front, now it's Coppage and De Pasqua, so Morgan down to 3rd place. Here comes Bob Kern as well. The man who's just sort of sat around at the back of this pack, and he's biding his time, and sure enough, he's been gaining positions. He was in 6th place a couple of laps ago, he's now 4th as, John Morgan doesn't want to wait, and he's making the move, and I think De Pasqua is letting them have that position as well.
Yeah, only has so much say in it though. Call that about half distance now as we start lap 9, and it's now 4 cars for the lead, and Bob Kern from 4th looking which way to go, and you can see Leroy Coppage up the front moving the train about, going from a defensive line to they're not going to catch me, I'll take the regular racing line, but too wide goes De Pasqua and Morgan, and the winner is Remigio De Pasqua up into 2nd place from 9th on the grid. So that's a good drive there, but it's been a little bit aggressive. I hope he can hold on to that for the rest of the race. Bob Kern, you rightly point out, in 4th place, just watching, waiting. This battle from De Pasqua though has put him more than a second behind Leroy Coppage, who's trying to make a breakaway.
I was going to say, De Pasqua and Morgan need to just calm down, work together here to try and get back to Coppage, because he's making a getaway. He's trying to make it a breakaway, and we've seen so many times with Formula cars at this circuit, once you break that slipstream, the leader just seems to be able to just pull away. And right now, I would say they are on they're on the edge of slipstream. And in fact, I think they may have even lost the slipstream here in 2nd place.
It's now almost 1.5 seconds. Remigio De Pasqua is going to need a fantastic run to catch all that before the bus stop. Leroy Coppage has an opportunity. What this does do is make it a battle for 2nd. So John Morgan in 3rd, Bob Kern in 4th, and you see it on your screen there, that gap not really coming down a whole lot, a little bit, but Pasqua's going to need to have a good run for quite a few corners to catch Coppage, but he has to go defensive, and that pulls him out of the slipstream. The gap from the leader to 2nd stays 1.3 seconds.
I don't think he was under pressure there. I think he defended a little bit too early there, and I think it's going to cost him a potential of a race win here as they're going down into La Source. As John Morgan under pressure, we've got battling further back as well, but I believe that was a mistake. He was defending thin air almost there, I feel. John Morgan, I don't think, was putting the pressure on. And as we look, De Pasqua, he's pulled away from Morgan. 7 tenths, 8 tenths of a second. Morgan's got Kern with him. The leader now, 1.3 seconds ahead. And it's not really gaining much. He's getting a slipstream, is De Pasqua, but not that much, only a couple of miles an hour advantage.
Yeah, now that Morgan and Kern fight, it lets De Pasqua follow in the draft of Coppage, and then starting to pull in a little bit more. Slipstream seems to work to about 1.5 seconds back, but only if De Pasqua doesn't have to defend from behind and can then follow the lines of Coppage in front.
We're on board with Kern into Jack Hicks' corner, get on the power nice and early because you want to carry that speed all the way down here. It's downhill, so you're getting the advantage of gravity helping you accelerate onto the brakes, such as the curb. Didn't go on the grass, which is what happened to Paul Stump, who, by the way, has moved up a position to 7th. And into the Fania chicane. It's a great shot as this, I do it a little bit, but I better not overuse that one, people will get bored of it. As Kern keeping within striking distance of the drivers in front. But 2 seconds now is the gap between Coppage and De Pasqua. I think it's safe to say now that that slipstream is broken.
Yeah, Coppage doing exactly what he needs to do. De Pasqua not in a position close that gap down, which means that 2nd place is now really the best you can expect from these guys, De Pasqua, Morgan and Kern. Kern's looking to the inside here on Morgan, is he? No, but once again you see De Pasqua taking that line braking into the bus stop under not too much pressure from behind.
Yep, they're going to go down to La Source, the final corner. And just again, the gap's pulling out a little bit further behind. Kenneth Baldwin battling it out with Paul Stump. Stump with a little bit of damage to the front of his car now. And he's going to try and make the move. Bill Lawrence is in the pits. And I believe that is going to be his race done. As they go up the hill now. And Stump, as I mentioned, got that damage. But he's got the slipstream. Can he make the most of it? Or will he stall out here? John Morgan and Bob Kern are battling. We'll keep an eye on that on the timing screens. Don't forget RaceSpotTV/timing for all keeping up to date with everything happening here. And what's happening here is a couple of battles. Spaldo and Garris battling away, but Bob Kern able to make it ahead of John Morgan.
Yep, so Kern now looking, there's only a couple laps to go, and that DePasqua was maybe getting away a little bit. Finally put the foot down, moved up into third position, and now eyes on second position. Remigio DePasqua, the gap that Coppage has over DePasqua stayed steady, just over 2 seconds or so, but that will make it a very, very tough ask for DePasqua to be able to close it back in.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see 2 laps there, 9 tenths of a second lost for DePasqua. We'll look behind, and there's Bob Kern. Now those lap time deficits, we've got to take into account that he has been involved in a fight, and as he's still involved in a fight here because John Morgan is trying to make the move, and he's trying to get that position from Kern into Blanchimont. Play nicely, guys. And that's exactly what they do. So they stay as they were for the time being. Into the bus stop chicane. Who's the best of the late breakers? Well, they're both about even going into the bus stop chicane. It's a run out of this corner, and then you want to get the runner out of La Source to carry the speed all the way down the hill through through Eau Rouge and then Radio. That is where you need to get the speed. This point is crucial to get a good run down that hill.
Leroy Coppage crosses the line with 6 laps to go, and that means 6 laps to go for this battle as well, where DePasqua has pulled out just a teeny bit more on Kern. Kern, though, set the best lap of everyone that lap around, so he had a good lap with the slipstream. On board now with Morgan in 4th, looking forward, not making any progress on Kern, but Kern closing in significantly on DePasqua. Is there any concern of aerodynamic damage for John Morgan there, or no, is that just him deciding to stay behind Kern and not close that gap?
He was getting out the gas. Oh dear, we've got 3 wide here into Lecombe. Garris, Respaldo and Grinnan. Don't forget Grinnan started at the back of the pack. He's into 9th place now as he bullies his way past Respaldo. So a good job from Grinnan there to make his way through. But no, you could hear on the onboard, John Morgan was backing up the throttle there. He was basically determined to just keep behind Kern all the way up the Kemmel Straight. So that's interesting. What tactics at play there? Maybe he's settling himself into a position to potentially make some moves, and Grinnan goes off there. What on earth happened there? We'll have to have a look on board with him.
Did he cut that curb on the inside too ferociously? Did he turn the wheel too aggressively? The onboard will probably tell us quite a lot through Puan. Bit of curb on the outside, I think it was, really, is what's unsettled him. And this time, he's not been as lucky as some other drivers because he has found the wall. Same has Richard Varley, so a few damaged Mazdas out there.
Yep, so 2 drivers taking the trip back to the pit lane. Valley tried valiantly to keep that car going, but decides against it. So we'll go back to live, and it is Coppage out at the front, trying to keep
his gap has come down though.
Yeah, it has come down slightly.
Was 2.2, now 1.7, 1.6 or so. So if DePasqua can follow in the slipstream, he'll be able to close it down, but he's too preoccupied taking defensive lines from Kern and Morgan, who are right on his tail. This is going to be very interesting. Gets a teeny bit more space coming up Eau Rouge Radion for DePasqua to be able to follow the lines of Coppage in front and maybe pick up the faintest hint of a slipstream that would help him look at the more to the extreme right hand side, the full width of the circuit, away from the racing line, back onto the normal racing line for the braking zone. No, the gap that Coppage has now down to 1.4 seconds. If DePasqua can have a clean couple of corners, then it's possible that Coppage has lost his advantage.
Yeah, it certainly is. We'll look back from Coppage while we'll look at the gap in front, but it's 1.6 seconds at the moment. One thing I did notice on my timing screen was that DePasqua had about a 2-mile-an-hour advantage up the Camel Straight. Now, whether that's because he had a good run, or whether it's because he was able to get just the faintest of slipstreams, we'll have to wait and see. But if he carries that on with 5 to go at the moment, we're about 4.5 laps to go now. If he can get back into that slipstream of Leroy Coppage, then we could have race on once again for the race lead going towards the end.
It's going to have to hurry though, running out of laps. You see it, only 5 to go, 4 when they cross the line next time. DePasqua is going to make any attempt at closing that gap. It's going to have to happen pretty quickly because time running out.
You can see Coppage then at the front of the field. This is what the second race brings you. A little bit of a different grid, a little bit of a different field, battling out at the front, and that's why this 60 Plus Racing Adventure Series is one of the best, one of my favourites to broadcast here. And certainly these drivers always provide us with respectful but great racing each and every time we show the series. As they're going to go across the line, I think actually... Oh my goodness, that's the race leader! He's around! What on earth happened there? Let's have a look at the replay of that one. But all of a sudden, from race lead to 4th place for Leroy Coppage.
On board into La Source, wide of the apex, tries to keep the throttle pinned on the AstroTurf on the exit, and that sends him around. He does keep it out of the wall, that's critical. He gets it going quickly too, so he'll hold on to 4th position for the moment. You can see the pack behind getting fierce, but now DePasqua has his elbows out now that he's trying to hold on to the lead.
Well, now DePasqua needs to start defending. Now he's suddenly found himself in the race lead. That just shows how quickly things can change here. And Bob Kern, all of a sudden going from looking on the bottom step of the podium, he's looking at potential at the top step of the podium here. Through Jacket's corner once again, downhill towards Pouot. And these drivers have been pushing hard all the way through this race. It's been great to watch. They've certainly been really challenging each other with the opportunities that they have. A little bit of a wider line entry from DePasqua into Fania, trying to get the better run out of the corner, set himself up as they're going to Stavelot, corner nearest to the town of Stavelot, onto the power through Curve Paul Freya, and out again as they head towards Blanchimont. Back onto the old course here. Of course, it used to be a public road course, did this one. It used to go a lot longer as well, did this track. Fearsome reputation. But through Blanchimont they go. Look at the slipstream that Kern had into the bus stop chicane. Hard onto the brakes. Will they make the moves? Kern has to get out of it. DePasqua, a little bit of a different line, and Kern was determined not to get any damage to his nose and to his front wing. But they don't want to be fighting too hard, because this could, John Morgan and Kern could allow DePasqua to pull away if they start fighting between themselves. So getting that slipstream again is important here, David, as they're going to start with 3 to go.
Yeah, indeed, you see that now, 3 to go. DePasqua taking some different lines down the straight there as well, but it's not enough to shake Bob Kern, who's right there and potentially able to take the race lead. both of these guys, De Pasqua and Kern, not starting the race from inside the top 5, but now find themselves battling for the lead. And that's testament to some of the issues we've seen some other drivers had from needing to keep a clean head through the traffic. Kern can't go around the outside. De Pasqua holds on to the lead once more. Just goes to show that while a good qualifying is nice, it isn't the be-all and end-all, and you've got to do the race because that's when the points are paid.
As we're on board with John Morgan, you can see the two in front of him, you can see the opportunity of a race win. Will he take it, or will he just stay behind, wait for his opportunity? Because the thing is, with 3 to go, you now need to start positioning yourself for that final lap, because if you make a move and pull ahead, pull to the front of this queue on the next lap, you're going to be a sitting duck up the Kemmel Straight unless you can make a breakaway, and we've seen how difficult that is here in this race.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one without a seat when the music stops. You've got to keep dancing, but know that if you're leading the train coming one more corner, one more straight to go, then you are liable to be passed. You want to hang back until the moment where you can move, and then no longer anyone else has time to pass you.
In towards the bus stop chicane, onto the brakes, and Kern is looking for it in the bus stop chicane. Maybe looking at potential opportunities for overtakes into the final lap as well. As they're coming down towards the source, and they're going to be starting the penultimate lap in this race. These 3 drivers, as you mentioned, the front 2 started 9th and 8th respectively. On the John Morgan out of the 2 started in the top 5, 4th place. As they go up the hill once again, it's like a mountain you have to walk up there. It truly is. You do not get the impression of the change of height. But here we go then, slipstream. And if I'm De Pasqua, I just let Kern by here. Get in behind him. Oh, he's going to defend it into Lacombe, and Kern has to get out of it.
Not for the first time, Kern's tried to go around the outside of De Pasqua and found just not quite enough real estate there. So that is elbows out from your leader, and now John Morgan's going to think about it down the inside of Rivage. Nothing going there, but John Morgan may have been happy to have trundled around in 3rd for a bit. Very wide goes De Pasqua at the front of the train. But yeah, suddenly, the white flag this time, checkered flag the next. John Morgan will surely be thinking about when he'll make his move as well. It's been the De Pasqua and Kern show for a couple of laps. When will John Morgan have his chance?
Well, he's got a great opportunity, because if he keeps it this close when they're going up over the top of Radion, then he will get the double draft all the way up the Kemmel Straight, and we could see a 3-wide situation heading in towards Lacombe for the final time. But we're on the penultimate lap here. Bob Kern has looked racy through here, and he's looking racy here now. Heading into Blanchemont, he doesn't want to wait, and he's going to go around the outside, is he? Oh, they have to give each other room. Into the bus stop chicane now. Onto the brakes, and De Pasqua, look at how late he can brake there. Around the outside, it gives him the inside, and Kern has to get out of it. Can he get a good run? Be careful of that AstroTurf. We've seen a few cars come cropper because of that one, including one at the back of the field. That's pulsed up there. 7th place, losing control at the bus stop chicane, but we'll keep it on this race lead battle as they start the final lap here. And David, Bob Kern's right in the box seat right now.
Yeah, just hasn't had the braking performance of Remigio De Pasqua either. When it comes to a wheel-to-wheel fight, nose-to-nose, door-to-door, De Pasqua's had the upper hand, but suddenly Bob Kern with the slipstream, he's going to have to go around the outside. It didn't work last lap, as he got a little bit more this time. John Morgan in 3rd, what can he do? And behind them, Coppage and Unspeak fighting. Kern just has his nose in front, but not as strong under the brakes. Round the outside, runs out of room again.
I tell you what, if I was in Bob Kern's shoes, I wouldn't have been that respectful trouble. I'll be honest with that one. He gave a lot of space to De Pasqua, space which I don't think that De Pasqua actually deserved, if I'm honest, because Kern was alongside him through Lacombe, and you can't go too wide through there. So Kern is running out of opportunities behind. John Unsby has made his way past Leroy Coppage, but those two are battling it out for 4th and 5th as we go through this final lap. About half a lap remaining here, and time is running out for Kern. And what will we see here? He's got to get a good run out of these two corners, but this is where Kern has been strong. Through Paul Frere, curve Paul Frere, keep the foot absolutely flat out now. Use that slipstream. That's exactly what he's doing here. Can he make this one count? De Pasqua having to go defensive at Blanchimont. Oh, they're getting really close again. Can Kern hold it round the outside? Can he be the last of the late breakers into the bus stop chicane? It's not the last opportunity either as they hit the brakes. Kern goes into the lead now, into the final part of the course. De Pasqua is slow out of the chicane. That's going to allow Morgan an opportunity perhaps. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but at the front there, what a move it was. Bob Kern, he trialled it on the previous lap, but it's worked this lap as he comes around that final corner, and he is going to be the winner of the final race of the season in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures. What a drive. I don't know why it's saying second for him. He is the winner. There it goes, it updates. And Bob Kern, great move around the outside of Blanchimont to make that move stick. That is a great stuff from him. We've still got some battling as we're going in towards the end. Florison and Rosegen. So Rosegen, a recovery drive from him. And I believe Florison may have some damage here. Either that or he's got run out of fuel perhaps. He's struggling across the line there. I think he has run out of fuel, do you know? But he manages to get across in 12th place. Last few drivers, look at that, the battered David Riley across the line now. And, well, David, what a finish there and what a move from Bob Kern at the end.
Yeah, he'd been outbraked several opportunities by Remigio De Pasqua, but on the last lap, when it mattered, the bravery was there for Bob Kern, and I think De Pasqua had a tiny bit of a slide between the apexes trying to put the power down, and it gave Bob Kern exactly the breathing space he needed at the right moment to be the winner. And it's not to discredit the effort of Remigio De Pasqua, also up 7 positions from his starting spot. John Morgan completes the podium.
Well, a couple of drivers that have had issues in this one as well. One of those, Martin Robertson. Oh, an absolute nightmare. Got involved in a opening lap incident at Malmedy. He's still on the lead lap. He's going to be the last of the lead lap runners. But it's what might have been for Mark. Didn't get a qualifying time in. Had to start from the penultimate row of the grid. You see the other driver behind him is Franz Brink, who's actually a lap down. In fact, 2 laps down on Mark here. So Franz not having the best of runs here today, but Matt Robertson will come across the line then, and we'll just wait for Franz to come across the line, and then we'll be able to bring you your race results. But well, thrilling race, thrilling show as always here in 60 Plus Racing Adventures. So here is your final race results. It's Bob Kern who's the winner of this one. 1.4 seconds in the end ahead of Remigio De Pasqua. John Morgan, 3rd place then. Good results for those 3 at the front then. John Unsby, 4th ahead of Leroy Coppage at the end of who's the race leader for the majority of the race. Kenneth Baldwin, 6th place ahead of Greg Garris, 7th. Gianni Rispaldo, 8th with Paul Stump. Having that spin on the start of the start of the last lap, should I say, down in 9th place. Richard Coulomb rounding out the top 10.
11th place, well, Stefan Rosschen, winner in race 1, couldn't be the winner in race 2, but I'm not sure that will bother him too badly. 12th goes to Jared Florison. 13th, David Riley brings that across the finish line. 14th is Wally Molesby, and 15th is Ronald McManus. 16th goes to Mark Robertson, and he's the last car on the lead lap. 1 lap down is Richard Varley in 17th, Ralph Camera in 18th. Franz Brink, some repairs for him, quite a bit of time on the pit lane, but he brings it back out and sees the checkered flag 3 laps down in 19th. And Manning Grinnan, tough race in 20th. Bill Lawrence, effectively a retirement in 21st, along with Stephen Karkner 22nd, Bruce Granham 23rd, 24th Scott Gallo, 25th Kenneth Domer, and William Lee, I think, not taking the start there, classified 26th.
He did. He got involved in the lap on incident up at
My mistake then.
At Malmedy. But yes, well, there's the results, and we'll be able to get a word with our race winner, who not race winner, but third place man to start with, and he's standing by with David Haynes.
John Morgan, third place. Not a bad result. Always good to stand on the podium. Not quick enough, not brave enough for Bob Kern and Remigio de Pasqua on this occasion, though. John Morgan? Well, he's here, but I'm not hearing him, Paul.
Yeah, I think we're having a few technical issues here, unfortunately. We'll hopefully let him sort them out, but yeah, it's really been a race that's there's been a race of attrition. I mean, you look at the field. 16th down, basically, all went into the pits at some point in that race. Just it shows that it's not the easiest car to drive around this track, and those at the front certainly did deserve their positions up there.
The Pro Mazda does have a little bit more downforce than other cars that you could be racing, and of course, downforce cars are quick, but always tricky to drive on the limit, because once you find yourself with a little bit of slip angle or across the grass or just carrying too much speed, well, things go wrong quicker. You can't react quick enough, and they're just a more difficult car to drive at that limit. But when they are driven well at that limit, they produce some fantastic racing, and we've seen great examples of that.
Well, what I am going to do is I'm going to try and have a word with the man who we tried to speak to at the end of race 1. John, do you copy us here?
Are you talking to me or the other John?
John Unsby, yourself.
Oh, I didn't know you tried to talk to me. It keeps saying no audio, so I don't know. That was quite a race, that last one.
Well, we can hear you now, so let's talk to yourself. Then you started the race in 5th place. Ended up going down. Ended up finishing in 4th place after quite a bit of battling. Just talk us through that one, because we didn't really get a chance to watch you because there was so much action going on at the front of the field.
Yeah, I hit the curb coming out of the chicane there early on, like 2nd or 3rd lap, and dropped back to 12th. I didn't spin, but I got completely sideways, and I got 5th in the first race, so I figured, well, I'm not even going to get that high. And then, I don't know, I was just faster than hell this time. I was faster. I was like a second faster in this race than I was in the first one. I don't know why. And I was just catching everybody, and I think if it had been 2 or 3 more laps, I'd have won the damn thing.
Well, I mean, it's always good when it all comes together for you in that one. But great recovery to be able to make your way back through the field. And we'll talk about this season. How have you found this particular season in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures?
I've been basically getting my butt kicked, actually.
Succinct and to the point about that.
Well, I'll
honest
elaborate.
Assessment.
Well, I'll elaborate. There's 2 or 3 new guys have shown up, and the way I assess it, there's like 3 guys that are about a half second faster than everybody. Stefan and Bill and the guy from Holland, I forget his name, and he wasn't here today. And then there's about 12 or maybe even as many as 15 that are almost identical speed. And it's really hard to beat everybody. I want to congratulate Bob Kern. I never saw him win before.
Yeah, certainly it was an absolute effort. But I mean, it just goes to show the level of competition. You mentioned that there's so many drivers that are of a similar pace. Okay, you've got those three, Van der Ven, I think, is the other driver who you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got those three that are just that little bit quicker, but that pack though, this is what makes this racing so good, and how respectful the racing is as well.
Yeah, like I say, there's probably 12, maybe as many as 15, and it's really hard to beat all of them. I can beat all of them at some point, but beating all of them on the same day is really tough.
Well, thank you for joining us in the commentary booth here. Before we let you go, is there anybody who wants to give a quick mention to on the broadcast?
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were trying to talk to me in the first race. It said no audio, and I don't know, but I was there. But, I want to thank you guys for doing such a great job of broadcasting us, I think, 3 times a year? And the guys who run the league. I mean, this is a great league, and as you said, really respectful driving. We hit each other now and then, but that's racing.
Well done, and well done on having a really good round here at Spa-Francorchamps, and all the best for the next season.
Yeah, thanks for broadcasting us, and we'll see. Well, I guess I don't know when you do the first one, but the next race is in a week, so seasons are pretty close together here.
All right. Well, all the best, and until next time, take it easy, John.
Thanks, guys.
So that was John Unsby then. Hopefully, let's see if we can get him in. David, hopefully, take 2, we can have a word with John Morgan.
Yeah, let's start easy here. John Morgan, do I have you?
I think so, yes.
Fantastic. 3rd on the podium is a good result. Anytime you stand on the podium at Spa, you can be pretty proud of yourself. But were Bob Kern and Remigio de Pasqua just a little bit too quick for you, or were you content with 3rd?
I was just content not to get tangled up there. They were going at it pretty hard, and the 3 of us going at it would have slowed us down. The guys behind us could have caught up. So I was certainly looking for an opportunity towards the end of the race to maybe go to 2nd. But after a bad result in race 1, I was a little bit more conservative, yes.
Exactly, but that 2-race format giving you some opportunity for redemption in today's race, in today's proceedings, it's pretty unique to this championship. And your thoughts on what it adds to the dynamic of the racing?
I think guys race a little bit harder, the first race, because they know they have another chance. And I like the format. If you have bad luck, just a mishap in the first race, you've got another chance, and that's what happened to me today. I got caught up in an incident in the first race and got damaged, and so it was nice. It's nice to have that second race to get another opportunity.
Well, that race wraps up the season, and how has it been for you?
It's been a good season for me. I think I'll end up probably 5th in the championship, which is typically what my goal is to be in the top 5. I just enjoy racing with these guys. It's always great racing, as you guys see with the broadcasts you do for us. We rarely put on a boring race. So it's a good group, and I think I'm happy with my season. So.
It's a pretty ringing endorsement of 60 Plus Racing Adventures, if I ever heard one. Yeah, a satisfied customer, you would call yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it's a good, like I said, it's a good group. Joel and Richard and Bill and Mark, the guys who run the league, do a great job. It's great to have broadcast 3 times a year for us, and you guys do a great job. So couldn't be happier. Not much to complain about here.
I'll propose a little hypothetical to you here. If 60 Plus Racing Adventures moved to a different road racing car, what's one you think would work well with the members and also produce good racing if it wasn't going to be the Pro Mazda?
Man, that's a tough question. I think there's been talk of moving to the Formula 3 car. I think a large part of the grid enjoys the open wheelers. We had a long time ago raced the Renault F2O. So I would think that the Formula 3 would probably be the logical choice. We've done some other racing with the Radical, which is a difficult car to handle, and the Ferrari GTE. And I think everybody's enjoyed that, but I think the primary focus will probably stay on an open wheel car similar to the Pro Mazda or the Formula 3.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, having a word with us here. Third place for you. Shout outs, thanks, anything like that, while you're here on RaceSpotTV.
Just to the league admins and everybody who races here, it's some of the best and cleanest racing that I take part in on iRacing, and thanks to you guys for doing the job that you do.
You're very much welcome. It's you guys who put in the real hard work along with the league organisers. Paul, I think that's just about everyone we're going to have a chance to chat with.
Yes, it certainly is, and well, we're almost out of time here. But final thoughts, David. What's been your impressions of this event today?
Yeah, good racing, non-stop action. Sometimes I'd have a thought come to me, and before I could say it, something else was going on. There was another move, another spin, or another great twist in the tail of this race. So it's always better to have too much to talk about than not enough. And by all accounts and everyone we speak to, everyone greatly enjoys this racing, and there's quite a fair bit of respect between the drivers. So I think fantastic racing all round, good event, good series, and good season that they are now wrapping up here at the final round.
Absolutely. So we saw some great racing in the two races here today in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures. As we look down the valley towards the pit complex at Spa-Francorchamps, just time to give a quick mention that myself, Paul Smith, and David Haynes have been on commentary today. Thank you to Istvan Bella with TrackCams22.com for providing our track cameras and car cameras here in today's presentation. But it has been a great race, a great season once again in the 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Congratulations to Stefan Rosen for winning the championship, and until next time here on RaceSpotTV, it's goodbye.